The Daffodil Principle. Several times my daughter telephoned to say, "Mother, you must come and see the daffodils before they're over." I wanted to go, but it was a 2-hour drive from Laguna to Lake Arrowhead. "I'll come next Tuesday," I promised, a little reluctantly on a third call. Next Tuesday dawned, cold and rainy. Still, I'd promised, and so I drove there, and when I finally walked into Carolyn's house and hugged and greeted my grandchildren, I said, "Forget the daffodils, Carolyn. The road is invisible in the clouds and the fog, and there's nothing in the world except you and these children I want to see bad enough to drive another inch." My daughter smiled calmly and said, "We drive in this all the time, Mother." "Well, you won't get me back on the road until it clears, and then I'm heading for home," I assured her. "I was hoping you'd take me over to the garage to pick up my car." "How far will we have to drive?" "Just a few blocks," Carolyn said. "I'll drive, I'm used to this." After several minutes I had to ask, "Where are we going? This isn't the way to the garage." "We're going to my garage the long way," Carolyn smiled, "by way of the daffodils." "Carolyn," I said sternly, "please turn around." "It's all right, Mother, I promise. You'll never forgive yourself if you miss this experience." And after about 20 minutes we turned into a small gravel road, and I saw a small church. On the far side of the church I saw a hand-lettered sign that said Daffodil Garden. We got out of the car, and each took a child's hand, and I followed Carolyn down the path. Then we turned a corner of the path, and I looked up and gasped. Before me lay the most glorious sight. It looked as though someone had taken a great vat of gold and poured it down over the mountain peak and slopes. The flowers were planted in majestic swirling patterns, great ribbons and swathes of deep orange, white, yellow, lemon, salmon pink, saffron, and butter yellow. Each different coloured variety was planted as a group, so that it swirled and flowered like on its own river, with its own unique hue, and there were 5 acres of flowers. "But who has done this?" I asked Carolyn. "It's just one woman," Carolyn answered. "She lives on the property. That's her home." Carolyn pointed to a well-kept A-frame house that looked small and modest in the midst of all the glory, and we walked up to the house. On the patio we saw a poster. "Answers to the questions I know you're asking," was the headline. The first answer was a simple one. 50,000 bulbs, it read. The second answer was 1 at a time by one woman. 2 hands, 2 feet, and very little brain. And the third answer was began in 1958. There it was, the Daffodil Principle. For me, that moment was a life-changing experience. I thought of this woman whom I had never met, who, for more than 40 years before, had begun, one bulb at a time, to bring her vision of beauty and joy to an obscure mountain top. Still just planting, one bulb at a time, year after year, had changed the world. This unknown woman had forever changed the world in which she lived. She had created something of ineffable, indescribable magnificence, beauty, and inspiration. The principle a daffodil garden taught is one of the greatest principles of celebration. That is, learning to move towards our goals and desires one step at a time. Often just one baby step at a time, and learning to love the doing, learning of use of the accumulation of time, and when we multiply tiny pieces of time with small increments of daily effort, we too will find we can accomplish magnificent things. We can change the world. "It makes me sad in a way," I admitted to Caroline. "What might I have accomplished if I had thought of a wonderful goal 35 or 40 years ago, and had worked away at one bulb at a time through all those years? Just think what I might have been able to achieve." My daughter summed up the message of the day in her usual direct way. "Start tomorrow," she said.